Welcome to episode 2 of the 1965 Texas Fastback Revival. We're back at it up here in Canada in the freezing cold weather, but we're doing it for the tube. If you haven't seen part 1, please click the link somewhere around here, and basically that'll tell you where we started and where we are now. The plan is to get this old pony back on its feet and running once again after 44 years. Will everything go as planned? Or will the plan fail and leave this pony without a heart? Stay tuned to find out. So after a little scrubbing with a wire brush and a good old-fashioned screwdriver, we were able to clean out the lifter valley much cleaner than what it was. Blew it all out, plugged all the holes, obviously, all the oil holes. So we're ready for the push rods now. Got the heads on, torqued. Push rods are in. Still have to set the rockers, but decided to pull the oil drain to let that drain of all the old oil that was sitting in there, and it was extremely thick, like molasses. So also gonna take off the oil filter and run some fresh oil in it, prime it, and then set the rockers. Just took off the oil filter, and you know what? I don't think this oil filter ever saw any oil. Baldwin filters. Alright, so just making a list of things we need. We need a fuel pump. We need to take this water pump off because it's actually seized. So if any of you have worked on small block Fords and you're trying to take off your water pump, you're going to realize that it's one of the stupidest designs. I believe they have 12 water pump bolts that you have to take off in order to get the water pump off. And usually, like a small block Chev or even a big block Ford, it's 4 bolts, 3 times the amount of work. And you're most likely going to run into a few problems. For example, snapping bolts. The previous owner, whoever worked on this last, I think snapped 2 as well. This one's given me quite the pain in the ass. Reason being is because it's going through all of this metal and the aluminum. So gonna give it a little bit of heat, hopefully crack it loose. So with a little heat, not even a oxyacetylene torch, just a simple propane torch, I was able to break this bolt loose, coming out nice and easy. A little bit of help from WD-40, and we're good to go. Water pump is going to be off after this bolt. Then we got to extract the broken studs and then put the new one on. Alright, so water pump's off. Now we have to extract this bolt, and then we're good. So it turns out there's actually another snap bolt about halfway in here. So we have to take the timing cover off, which means we have to take the pulley, we have to take the harmonic dampener off, and then we can take this off. Hopefully these bolts don't snap, because then that's a whole nother problem. Okay, well, we have to take the harmonic balancer off, as these 55-year-old bolts snapped in the water pump.
and the timing cover have to come off in order to get those broken bolts out. So it happens on American cars too, not just the Canadian rot buckets. Slowly inching its way out. There it is. Probably never been off before.
Probably not. So once we get this guy off, we'll bring it up to the shop, take this one off up at the shop, heat it up with the oxy because the propane torch just isn't enough, and hopefully we'll be able to get the stud out that goes into the block.
The blood of an engine. You don't mind me talking to you, son?
No, go for it.
It hasn't tasted oil in over, how many years? 40 plus years. Last on the road in 1975. Been collecting dust since.
Alright, while Dad's working on the timing cover, taking that bolt out, I went ahead and set the rockers. I'll be able to put an intake on it now that the rockers are set. Probably going to find a 4-barrel for it. 4-barrel intake and carb.
There's one in the basement.
Yeah, there's one in the basement. Hell, maybe even throw the, what's it called?
Hillborn
fuel injectant on it. Yeah. It was a factory 2-barrel carb, but we're going to go 4-barrel while we're here. Alright, so again, with a little bit of trusted heat, got this bolt loose, the broken stud, and I'm just going to jiggle and wiggle. So just digging out some parts from the back of the Fastback, and I couldn't help but to just stare at that beautiful shag house carpet. It's like a nice greeny color. Isn't that beautiful? God, I wish I was in my living room. Anyways, there's quite a few parts back here. A drive shaft, starter motor, which is perfect because I need one. Quite a few interior trim pieces. Some motor mounts, early style. Looks like 6-cylinder almost. Transmission cross member, and a few other doodads. And we're just gonna get rid of that disgustingness. Right there. Ooh, a mouse nest. Nice. Round 2. I can just hear all the mouse poo. Yum. And that's much better. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Alright, there's a nice little Holly 4-barrel. Sweet. Alright, so slowly starting to find bits and pieces for the engine here. I found this, I think it's like a 74 Ford intake. There's a Holly carb I found in the shed. Oil's all primed. All the rockers got oil up to them. Same on this side, which is good. Alright, so the Mustang's coming together. This side exhaust header is on. Spark plugs are in. Once I put the starter in on this side, then I'll be able to put that header on. I'm actually going to test the original starter here and see if it's still good. If not, I have another one up at the shop. Alright, so before I go and sweep this floor, I just wanted to show you how much crud came out of that engine. So got the starter in. You can see it's not the starter that I showed you earlier in the video. It's actually one from up in the garage, but this one looked a little shorter. What I thought was happening was I thought the nose of the starter was actually hitting the bell housing, the inside of the bell housing. But turns out I didn't have it centered in the hole, and it was a pretty snug fit. But it's in now. Unfortunately, it's not the used one. They both work. I just rather would have used the used one rather than a brand new one. But slips right in. Okay. And that's in. Dry Y headers are both on. Starter's on. Alright, so got the valve covers all cleaned up. Got some brand new gaskets for them. So just starting to put the battery cables on. Got the one hooked up to the block right there. Got the one going from the solenoid down to the starter. Now, there's a slight problem there. I probably should have put that one on before I put the headers on. Okay, that's done. Making some pretty good progress on the engine. Got the timing cover with the brand new gasket. Got the new water pump on with all fresh gaskets. Brand new fuel pump. And Harmonic Balancers back in. Next is the intake after I finish the carb studs. But it's looking good. Those headers look pretty sweet in there. Try Y headers. Alright, so here's the carb gasket for the 80s intake. Like I said, this is your notch for the exhaust to heat your choke up or whatever it is. But yeah, thanks for the intake adapter, Luke, over at Thunderhead 289. There's the gasket. I had gasket material at the house rather than spending, I think it's like, whatever, 25 bucks for an 84 and up, whatever, intake gasket or carb gasket. Thought I'd just make my own. Still got to drill out the holes here, but no big deal. Alright, just in the process of removing the long studs here and replacing them with the shorter studs, because when you put the carb on, there's too much exposed metal from here down. Now, I could stack a bunch of washers and stuff like that, but I figured I have the carb off now. It doesn't take long to take those off, just double nut them and then spin her out. So that's currently what I'm doing. As you can see here, I have Luke's adapter plate. Right here there's a hole under this gasket. So this adapter plate allows me to cover that. So about ready to install these two. These two studs are already in. As you can see, the height difference between the two, or between the four. So like I said earlier, a little tech tip is you thread on both these nuts, then you tighten this nut to this nut. So you put a wrench on this one, a socket on this one, and you tighten this guy against this guy. Okay, so now I already have it tight, and you're gonna see that the stud is actually spinning. So that's the whole idea. You're trying to spin the stud into the intake manifold. Until she gets snug. Which is right about there. That's tight now. So now all you have to do is hold this guy with the wrench, this guy with the socket, and loosen him off. Take those guys off, put it on that one, and you're good to go. Intake is going on. Good.
Let's just see.
Did you line her up okay?
It looks like we got her right on.
Right on.
Look.
Right on, right on.
One drop.
Let's get her going.
One drop. The doctor at work.
Still got the face mask on.
Fighting a cold, but we're fighting the Canadian
Canadian
freezing temperatures.
Actually have a regular ratchet this time, not an air ratchet.
We're trusting the Princess Auto torque wrench is accurate in its reading of 25 foot-pounds.
These ones are scaring me.
This is why we use grade 8 bolts, by the way, people. Stay away from the cheap stuff. And they're 50 years old.
Whew. All right.
Did that one click?
Yep.
I didn't hear it.
Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8, 9.
The beautiful thing about a non-painted car. Now that the intake is on and torqued down, I can run a fuel line from the fuel pump up across the block and into the carburetor. Now Dad's just cleaning up the distributor, so I'm probably going to have to run it straight up, angle it, and then into the little nipple with a piece of, what's it called, hose. But it's coming along, coming along. The parts car is pretty handy. We're getting quite a few parts off of it. Got our water pump pulley, which we're gonna have to take off. All right, Dad's just working on the parts car. He's got to get the rad out in order to take the water pump.
Mask on, trying to hide myself.
Water pump housing.
Like Doctor Who.
Yeah, yeah.
And the sky is like.
Just so you see how bad this car really is, that's the crank pulley. Just in case you didn't know that. Rotted in half. Yeah, motor sitting on the ground.
On the ground.
Yeah, it's
pulled the
pretty toast.
Stabilizer bar right down to the ground. put a Dodge
and
radiator in it.
Dodge rad.
Some goddamn sheet metal screws to it. Make my life miserable.
All the imports think they got the camber. Check out that.
Alright. 3 hours later, rusty bolts that are hidden. The Dodge radiator comes out of the 65 Mustang.
Oh, look at this. Look at the strut rod brace.
Yeah.
What's your hand?
What strut rod brace?
Yeah, no shit, eh? Jesus. Frame rails? Never heard of them.
That's it. That's the last of them. You know, all right, tappage.
That was gonna be easy.
Huh?
That was gonna be easy. We're gonna smack with the old vice grip.
Yes, sir. There it is. Fucking 100 years went off the road.
Hey, tap the fan.
There's your fucking beautiful fan.
Not a chance.
Couple straightened vice.
Bent aluminum.
I'm not sure this has much life in it either. Look at that belt. Oh, immaculate.
We're gonna use that belt.
Yes, sir.
Don't chirp it.
Yes, sir. There it is. She's got a lot of mouth. Look at that. Look at that. Not even any cracks in it. She's good to go. Boom.
We're gonna run her.
Another $10 saved. Look at these mint parts. Boom. Need them all. There's your bolt. Okay, I gotta go to work.
All right.
Unfortunately, I'm going to end the video here. There's just too much content to show you, and I do not want this video to go past 25 minutes. However, here's a little glimpse of what's to come in part 3. Ready?
Yeah, go. There you go. There you go.
Stay tuned for part 3. You're not going to want to miss it. If you like what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe button below to support my channel. I can't thank everyone enough for the likes and views of my last video. I believe it's at 226,000. That's more than I ever thought would happen, especially at this time, but here we are, and there's going to be more to come, so stay tuned. This is all for this week. Mike from Classic Mustangs 429, signing out.